Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of Sportsminute. And that's right. Tonight, let me introduce the guys. The one, the only. That's right. We call him Mr. Big B. How you doing tonight, my man?
Hey, I'm doing good. Ready to talk some sports. Sad day in the baseball world today for right now, but hey, we'll get in touch with that. So outside that, I'm doing good.
Absolutely. And then, of course, let's welcome in that man that we call Mr. Isaiah Leong. How's it doing tonight, my man?
I'm going great. You know, it's December. It's the start of December, which means Christmas is coming in about 24 days. It's the Christmas season. You know, this is the month where, nobody really works this month. It's all about just partying, holiday vibes. You know, it's amazing. This is why I love December so much. So, you know, December, welcome, man. It's so great to have you here the last month of the year. And, let's end this year off with a bang.
End it with a bang.
In December, you need to tell my job that.
Well, you certainly ended it with a bang yesterday. Anyway, so why we're going before we jump into our next topic. That's right. We it was kind of a rough day for a lot of people, especially on the MLB side when you think about it, because you saw that there was quite a few people out there that were talking about, is the lockout going to happen? Is it not going to happen? But people were going, well, I don't believe it's going to happen. Well, guess what, folks? The lockout's going to happen. It was a unanimous decision tonight. The owners voted and said there's going to be a lockout. There's going to be a lockout. Unanimous decision. Welcome in, Mess Around Dave. He says table corner. Absolutely, table corner. All right, so, you pretty much knew it was going to happen. You saw it coming. So with that, anyways, Big B, I'm going to turn to you on this one, and you tell me, what is your thoughts? Like, do you think that this lockout is going to go as far as missing games and possibly spring training, or do you think it's going to end before this?
I'm hoping it ends before it, but I was talking to Chris before you guys all came on. As a baseball fan, growing up watching the game, loving the game, it hurts, not knowing that, what's going to hold, when it comes February time. For me, I think we won't lose any real regular season games if we're done by March. I'll go until March. You can do a short preseason game or a season and then get into the regular season. You get through March and April, now you're talking we're going to start losing some games. So I think we're going to go through the holiday season not knowing. January, they'll probably start talking again. February, they'll definitely start talking again. But if they get to March 1st, that's when I'm going to start getting worried that we're going to start missing some games. And I'm a big baseball guy. The money's been thrown around already. Now it's all going to halt. So we'll see what happens come, hopefully sooner than later.
So you're not quite there yet.
I'm worried, don't get me wrong, but I still think there's time to get it done before we need to start panicking on losing regular season games. I've seen posts already. Oh, we're going to start playing 100 games. Oh, we're going to go down to 82. It's like, guys, the lockout's not even a day old yet. So let's get it going. You come back to me in March 1st, and then we'll start talking about being panicked. But right now, I'm worried. Don't get me wrong, but I think we'll get it done sooner than later.
All right, and then of course, so Isaiah, I'm gonna get to you on this one. I'm gonna ask your thoughts on this, the current lockout that is going on. Do you foresee it ending anytime soon, or do you think this is gonna go possibly into March or April?
I don't know, actually, because I saw that the owners and the players are very very bitter at the negotiating table last time when they were negotiating, trying to start I forgot what the season during the pandemic, and I said at that time that I didn't think that the players and the owners would be able to come to an agreement because they couldn't come to an agreement then. And it was so bitter that the commissioner had to force a 60-game season and press that nuclear button. So I don't know. I really hope that something happens. There's been reports that they have made a little bit of progress, but as a baseball fan and as a guy that really works for a baseball team, and my job depends on their having a season there to have fans. I really hope that there is a baseball season because I really want to see baseball next season, even if the A's are probably going to have their entire minor league team play at the Coliseum next year.
No, I'm right there with you. But I think when you look at some of the problems that are going on right now, have you guys read any of the problems that are currently going on, what's being negotiated at this point? So one of the big things that they have going on is that I kind of shared it in the chat earlier to where I said right now these higher up teams, you have like the Dodgers and the Yankees and that, and potentially the Red Sox who have, a lot of this money. They're trying to throw out the idea here saying that, if you go over the salary cap, you shouldn't have to pay a luxury tax. You shouldn't have to revenue share. So basically, any team should be able to go out there and sign whoever they want without a penalty at all. And I'm thinking that's a problem, man. That's a problem because you have teams like Oakland and Tampa Bay and and smaller market teams that are not going to be able to afford to do that, and then it's not going to make baseball competitive at all. And so Brandon, if you have anything to say on that, go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, the market size plays a fact, but right now there's not a salary cap, and one that's hurting baseball. I mean,
well, there is a salary cap, but you can pay the luxury tax and go over it.
Yeah, that's still nothing. I mean, but the smaller market teams like my Twins, Isaiah's A's, and the
Braves
Rays
are smaller. Yeah,
the Braves, but the Braves have done it. I mean, what gets me is I don't understand how, let's just take the Twins for example. You bring in, let's say they sign Story, let's say they sign the highest ace out there, Kershaw. You can't tell me that that's not going to draw people in. That's not going to draw jersey sales, memorabilia, stuff like that. At least for the first part of the year. And if they're winning, the fans will come. Just like in Field of Dreams. If you build a team, they will come. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's getting ridiculous on these contracts, and then the ticket prices go up. I mean, that's what's really hurting I think that's really what's hurting baseball is the fact that these contracts are getting so outrageous that nobody wants to spend the money. Nobody wants to be put in that Bobby Bonilla situation where, he's aging and now we got to pay him until 2035, and the guy hasn't done nothing since '99. So. I think they need a hard salary cap. I need to think they need to rethink these contracts, And again, if I'm a player getting offered money, just like on my job, no, I'm not going to turn it down. I'm not stupid, but I just think that MLB definitely needs to really think of a hard salary cap to make it fair for teams like the Twins, Oakland. I mean, I know the Devil Rays are a small market team, but they've been doing it with their young team, so it can be done. It's just you need that right set of guys to get it done.
Yeah, which I've always said from day one, the MLB salary cap should be just like the NFL salary cap. They need to take a salary cap, they need to put a cap on it, and then if a team goes, well, I would like to go over the cap, you say, you know what? No, you can't go over the cap. It can be just like the NFL and say, if you go over the cap, you either have to renegotiate a contract to restructure it to get under the cap. or you're going to have to find a player and release him if that's what you have to do to get under the cap. I think it's only fair if you do that because you have these other teams that can go out and get whoever they want and buy whoever they want and give them the amount they want. And it doesn't matter, what they pay them because they can afford to do it when these smaller market teams can't. So,
and I mean, one thing is, you got billionaire owners. I mean, they're billionaires. They can go out and spend just as much as the Yankees, Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Padres. They just don't want to. The Twins here, the Pohlads have been one of the richest owners in baseballs for years, and they want to do it. I'm not going to say the cheap way, but they just want to do it their way, and it's not working. So the owners have to step up, or we need the hard salary cap.
Well, I would say yes and no on that because Isaiah works for Oakland, and you look at Oakland. Well, Oakland the owner might have this money, but the thing is they don't have the ticket sales to recoup that money like some of these other people do because they have the bigger names. And
that's why they also give us free tickets as well. But that's a different story for a different day.
But that's what I'm saying is if they brought in the bigger names, the ticket sales would go up. I mean, not everybody's going to get into the World Series. We know that. It's going to be two teams. But to put a winning product out on the field, you got to bring in some big name guys. I can remember there was a stretch there probably from 98 to about 2005 that I didn't attend one Twins game unless I got free tickets because it was so bad,
But Isaiah, your thoughts on this? Do you agree that the MLB needs a hard salary cap?
I think what the MLB needs is I think they need a salary floor for the small market teams, which will make the small market teams like the Rays, like the A's. I'm trying to think of other like small market teams, the Pirates that don't spend. It will make those small market teams spend money for that season. Like, let's say, because they've been throwing out 80 million, 100 million salary floor where the teams have to reach that or else they get heavily penalized and draft picks potentially gets taken away. That's a phenomenal idea. I've been saying for years that they need that idea. I didn't think the owners were willing to actually throw that out there, but I guess they're only willing to do that if there is a salary cap in baseball, and that's why the players don't want to do that because they say, hey, so if they can only they have to spend 100 million, right? They have to spend 100 million every team, or else they get heavily penalized. And then there's like a salary cap of let's say 200 mil. So that's going to really lessen what the players are able to make per year. So that's why like the players and owners just can't find a middle ground for that. But I do agree we do need like a salary cap in baseball because a lot of the contracts are just so outrageously big, and we do need a salary floor. We need a salary floor that will make teams like the A's, that will make teams like the Pirates, that will make these small market teams actually spend money. Because like if we had if each team had to spend $100 million, do we think that the A's are going to be doing a fire sale and getting rid of Chapman and Olsen, all these guys? Maybe, but I mean, if you do that, then how are you going to get your payroll from 25 million all the way back up to 100? It makes no sense. So I think we need to have a salary floor in baseball, and also we need to have a hard salary cap. And I want to also touch on Big B's point that he made about how, if you bring in talent, no matter how old or how pathetic the stadium is, I think it will draw fans. And I completely agree with you, Big B, because I know Oakland, everybody's always crapping on the Coliseum and saying it's a bad place to play and all that, and I get it. But imagine if, let's say Corey Seager went to the A's on a 1-year, $50 million deal or whatever it was. Do you really not think that the fans aren't going to come to see Corey Seager play? I mean, even though the stadium's not that glamorous, the A's from 2012 to 2014, when they were making that run with Cespedes and Donaldson and all those guys, they were selling out every game. So I don't think it's the reason why it's because of the stadium. I just think it's because like some of the
that's the product.
front offices. Yeah, the front offices just don't want to put like the big name players that gets the fans excited, because no disrespect to some of the players that the A's have right now, but who's going to really get excited for Tony Kemp or Chad Pinder? Like, they're not names that will stand out to you and go like, man, I can't wait to pay $30 to see that guy, or pay whatever money to go to that game to see that guy and go get this guy's jersey. So I think there's definitely got to be a hard cap in baseball, and I think a salary floor is a must.
So speaking of that, though, so you do have Tim Hendricks who's saying, but as good as Tampa Bay has been, they don't fill the stands, and they don't. And so, one of the big thing is these teams are talking about that there shouldn't be any revenue sharing either. But this is the problem. If you don't do any revenue sharing and you have these teams who are not selling tickets and not filling the stands, what are they going to do? Because at some point, they're not going to have the money to keep the franchise going. And then they're like, well, I have to try and sell the franchise or do something because they can't keep it going. And so if you knock out all that revenue sharing, you're going to be in a whole nother situation to where it's going to kill MLB and it's going to kill off some of the franchises because they won't have the money to do it.
Well, I think Tampa is a good example. They're putting a winning team out there. They don't got the superstars. They got a couple young guns right now. I think Tampa's biggest problem is they play indoors. You're in Florida. Why wouldn't you have at least a retractable, stadium? Have it open most of the time. You can't tell me you wouldn't get fans in there more if they had a retractable, stadium, outdoor stadium. I mean, the Twins did it. They went from the Metrodome to Target Field, and the first year and a half, I would say, maybe 2 years, it was a sellout. One, we were winning, but two, it was outdoors. Everybody wanted to be outdoors on a nice summer day. I mean,
yeah, and also think about what Tim is saying though too. Look at the Marlins. So think about the Marlins a few years ago. This is a great example. They had Stanton, they had Yelich, they had Justin Bohr. They actually had a good team. They had Fernandez out there. They had Zambrano at that point. And so they actually had names, but they still were not selling tickets.
Well, even take their World Series run. What did they do after that? Blew it up.
No, exactly.
They blew it up. You're coming off a World Series win. Why would you blow it up?
But the Pirates are kind of the same way. The Pirates get these good players, and then once they get these good players, they get rid of everybody. It makes no sense. They're like, okay, they're too good to be playing on this Pirates team, so I need to trade them. Adam Frazier, perfect point. At one point last year, he was leading the league in average. He was one of the best leadoff hitters in the game, and you're like, he's too good for us. We're gonna trade him. Gold Glove winner and Stallings, Jacob Stallings, their catcher. Oh, he's our Gold Glove winner. Oh, we're gonna trade him. It makes no sense. They take all their best players and they trade them.
I mean, I like Isaiah's idea to have a minimum.
A floor, yeah.
Yeah. But then you get into the problem, like Isaiah kind of alluded to last night. You got a team that's, needs $40 million. They might go out and sign a guy that doesn't deserve it, or three guys, and try to split up that $40 million to three guys that don't need it or shouldn't earn it, or I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you're going to start overpaying for players, and now you're just skyrocketing that, contracts going up. I mean, like we said last night, I can't think of the shortstop that signed a $350 million contract.
Seager.
Yeah, Seager. So what's Correa going to get? I mean, Correa's going to be pushing about $400 million on a 10-year deal. So, I mean, each year, just like football, each year that level keeps going up for each position. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I also could see this with the salary floor. Like, I don't know if I said this last night, but a lot of these small market teams that are used to tanking, right, into getting draft picks, into trading away players to get more in their farm system, I could see a lot of these owners do this, because you guys know that at the trading deadline, I believe halfway through the season, the salary that the players make, right? Like let's say a guy gets 1 year, 50 million, that will be cut in half to, I believe, 25 million, or it will be even less than that. So I could see this happening a lot at the trading deadline if there's a salary floor implemented. And that is, you have a lot of these teams, the Marlins, the A's, the Rays, that try to sneakily get around the salary floor. And what they do is they sign all these players to massive 1 year deals, like Seager or Trevor Story gets like 1 year and 60 or whatever, like something insane just to try to reach that floor cap, right? And then what do? They trade him at the deadline. They trade him all at the deadline, and just to get prospects and get back to tanking. That's what, because there's going to be some owners that are going to be like, oh, screw your salary floor. I don't care. I'm going to just try another way to try to beat the system. That's why we're in the situation we are in right now.
Well, the one thing with baseball is it's really hard to take, because it's not like the NFL where you're going to see that prospect next year. Most of them are going to be gone in the minors for 5 years before they even sniff the majors. I mean, yes, there is exceptions. Don't get me wrong. But, when it comes to taking the baseball, I doubt that it really happens as much as it does in like basketball and football. Because you just don't see those guys up here so much.
Which, speaking of the 5 and 6 year mark too, that's another negotiation that they're talking about, is the free agency side. And what I mean by that is right now you have the 6 year free agency mark to where you can declare for free agency or whatever. They're trying to change that to 5 years now. So they're trying to drop it a year.
I guess that doesn't matter. I mean, I guess we'll see where it goes, but I think it's after 10 years, if you're with the same team, you get a no trade clause automatically put in.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll see where it goes. Right now, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, we're not in the meetings.
Which they canceled the winter meetings now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what was it? Somebody posted that in our chats. They met for like 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, well, we know the writing's on the wall now if they only met for 10 minutes. So, I mean, they got to have meetings here throughout the month of December, January, while the slot is going out to improve things. I mean, I guess it would be the head representatives of the players and the owners and then commissioner. So, give it a week. Let's see if we hear anything. But, like I said before, I'm not worried until March hits.
Well, yeah, I'm with Big B too. I'm not really worried until March. Once it gets to like end of February, start of March, then I think you have to push the panic button if it's still going on and there's no like a lot of progress already made on.
That's when we're going to start losing games.
Yeah, exactly. That's when we're going to start losing game. But I mean, as of right now, as an A's fan, I'm kind of worried, though, because we don't have a manager, and we can't fill that managerial position because there's a freeze on all transactions. So we're literally going to be waiting until February or March.
No, speaking of that, maybe you guys know, I kind of looked it up. Now, everything stopped. The teams can't talk to the agents. The players can't talk to their agents. I mean, what's
the teams are allowed to talk to the agents. The teams are not allowed to talk to the players.
Okay, so there could be some written agreement.
Yeah. They just cannot talk to the player. They can only talk to agents at that point.
Okay.
So that's really the only and I know this is a topic that we could talk about forever, but we have to jump into our next one because we've been talking about this one for a while.
We'll be talking about it till we get an official season.
Absolutely. So the next topic we have is, speaking of baseball, we're going to stay on the baseball side because we were talking about, how Max Scherzer, we talked about this yesterday on the Coast to Coast special. We said that Max Scherzer has signed with the New York Mets. And then we said that they were going to have Scherzer and Jacob deGrom. And then Isaiah had mentioned, well, imagine if Stroman was still there. Well, guess what? We now know that Stroman isn't going to be there because Stroman has now signed with the Chicago Cubs.
Is it official?
Yeah, it was official.
Oh,
it was official. Okay. Yeah, it was official. So now that he's officially signed with the Cubs, Isaiah, I'll start with you. Does this surprise you that Marcus Stroman signed with the Chicago Cubs?
Yeah, it surprised me a lot because I thought Marcus Stroman was going to go to a place where he could win and not a rebuild. And the Chicago Cubs, I think right now are at the beginning of a rebuild. And it's going to take at least 4 years for the Chicago Cubs to get back to relevancy because they have a lot of young players. They have a lot of prospects that they got from those trades that they made at the trade deadline that still have to take time to blossom and develop as well. So I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised that he would go there. The only thinking of mine that I have about this is that he probably just took the money and ran with it because, you wouldn't go to the Cubs to if you wanted to win. You wouldn't go to the Cubs if you wanted to win because they're probably not going to be even sniffing a 500 record for the next 3 years.
Yeah, so it basically turned out that he signed a 3-year deal or reached an agreement with them for a 3-year deal. So Big B, what do you think? Was this kind of surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean, like Isaiah said, the Cubs aren't. It's not 2016 where they're coming out the World Series. It's going to be 2022. They're rebuilding. They unloaded 3 of their stars last year. I'm kind of surprised. I'm guessing, if I'm Stroman, with the lockout looming, yeah, I took the best deal that might have been out there. You go to the Cubs. Now, like Isaiah was alluded to earlier, Cubs got a nice trading piece right there. If they happen to be in that market for selling next year, depending we have a season or not. So, if Stroman stays healthy and shows that he can pitch, I mean, Cubs might have probably a diamond right there in Stroman and could get a good lump sum for him.
Definitely. It kind of surprised me though too, because when some of these guys sign with these smaller market teams that aren't going to be doing or that aren't going to be really competing, like this year somebody like the Cubs, and let's say if somebody went and signed with the Diamondbacks or like the Royals or some of these teams that aren't going to be good. Or even the Orioles, let's say the Orioles sign some people. It actually shocks me because I'm like, are they going there because they're getting offered a massive amount of money, or do they actually believe in the rebuild mode? At that point, I don't know. Like that's what makes me wonder.
I would say it's about 50-50. You got half the players that feel, that they can help bring in people and recruit for them, I guess, and be a part of the rebuild. And then you got half of them that, yeah, I'm only here for the money and hopefully they trade me somewhere else, if they're going to suck,
Well, yeah, because you do have those players who can be like, look, I can help you. If you bring me in and sign you,
Yep.
Half these players in the league are my friends, so I can message around when they hit free agency and be like, hey,
Yep.
come and play here. Come and join me here.
Yep. I think it was not DeGrom. Who am I thinking of? Cranky. When he signed with the Diamondbacks, I think it was, and shocked everybody. He comes out and goes, I was going where the money's at. I didn't care who it was. It's like,
Yeah, exactly right.
really, dude? I mean, because I wanted him with the Twins. I thought he was a great pitcher. And then he said that. It's just like, yeah, you can go and, get hurt. So.
All right, so.
And he did.
and he did.
It hurt. Wow.
Yeah, and Greinke's not the same pitcher anymore. I can
No,
I can tell you that.
So.
But so we're going to go ahead and jump into our next topic. I know this is one that Isaiah's been wanting to talk about forever, and Big B, I know this might be something that you want to touch on too, because it's kind of a big thing in college football. I mean, it really is. When you think about it, you have Riley who leaves Oklahoma, and then you have Kelly who leaves Notre Dame. You want to talk about like a shakeup in college football right now? That's a huge shakeup. Huge shakeup. Now, I know that USC is talking about, bringing Riley because he's considered the quarterback whisperer and everything, so he can make, pretty much any college quarterback look good. But I don't think that there's a lot of people that really think about, when they think about Lincoln Riley. Isaiah, I'm going to ask you this, and you tell me. What do you think is the weak link of Lincoln Riley? And I can tell you what it is right now.
Well, I think Lincoln Riley is, and I'm going to compare him to an NFL coach because he's been in the same mode as a McVay, a Kingsbury, and a Kyle Shanahan. When people talk about him, they say that, and I was shocked that he left. I was really shocked that he left because I thought that he wasn't going to leave any Oklahoma for another college job. I thought if he was going to leave Oklahoma, it was going to be for an NFL job. Because if you guys remember, I think 2 years ago, and Chris, you might want to hop on here and correct me if I'm wrong. I think 2 years ago when the Cowboys had their coaching search, Lincoln Riley was their top target. Lincoln Riley was a top target for many high-profile NFL jobs, and I thought he was going to go to the Cowboys. I thought he was really going to go to the Cowboys, but in terms of this weak link, I think for me it's defense because
Thank you. You just answered the question because I was going to say in 3 playoff games that he had the Sooners in, he allowed 62, he allowed 52, he allowed 45. I mean, every single time he gets to a playoff game, his defense just gets it. I mean, they get picked apart. And so if Lincoln Riley's going to win a championship, if USC wants him to win a championship, he's going to have to figure out something with his defense because that is a weak link. Every time his defense people just pick his defense apart. But Isaiah, you can finish saying what you were saying.
No, I was just saying that I just think he's a great offensive coach. He's an innovator. And like I said last night, he's kind of the white whale of college football because, a lot of teams have tried to get him to leave. Pro and college have tried to get him to leave Oklahoma, but he hasn't left yet. So until now with USC. So I was really stunned that he actually made the move because I thought, first of all, that I think Chris or someone posted in the MI6 Coast to Coast group chat, I believe Saturday night or Sunday night, that he had a verbal agreement with LSU or something like that. But I thought if he was going to leave, it was going to be for the NFL. So that's why I'm really stunned that he actually took another college coaching job.
Well, let me ask you this. So let me say you're coaching the Sooners, okay? And you're sitting there going, you know what? I'm a Sooner for life. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And USC reaches out to you and say, you know what, Isaiah? I know you said that you're a Sooner for life and you're the coach for life. But we're going to give you a 10-year contract for $110 million. We're going to give you a private jet. We're going to give you $1.2 million to go out and buy your own home. And then if you want, we'll even buy you a vacation home. Tell me you're not going to be like, okay, where do I sign? I'm telling you that. You're going to jump on that. Money talks, man. Money talks. You are going to look at that and be like, $110 million? Where the heck am I going to sign? Absolutely, I'm going to take that. A private jet? Absolutely, I'm taking that. Tell me, where the heck am I going to? And you're buying me a house too? You're giving me a $1.2 million loan to buy a freaking house. Of course, you're going to jump on that.
You're right. You're right. Money definitely talks. But I thought you don't think NFL teams would have offered Lincoln Riley 10 or 12 million a year? I mean, I think the Cowboys were willing to go as high as 8 or 9 when they were in the process of replacing and I'm forgetting off the top of my head who they had fired.
Garrett.
Jason Garrett. Right. So I mean, it's a good deal for him. It is a really good deal for him. But if I were him though, I would have taken the Cowboys job because it's such a rarity for that job to open up. Plus, Jerry Jones is paying you $8 to $10 million a year. I mean, it's perfect.
Well, so it's just like Dave Cookensparger says. So welcome in, Dave. He says money talked and Lincoln jumped on it. The price was right. Exactly. That's what it was. The price was right. He took the money. He jumped on it. He said, this is right. So, but you only talked about Lincoln there, though, too. But what about Kelly from Notre Dame? Were you expecting that?
For that hire, I wouldn't say I was expecting him was going to go to LSU, but I was expecting LSU to make a splash because when you look at LSU, their AD is Scott Woodward, and if you look at his resume of hiring coaches, this guy always swings for the fences in every single coaching hire that he's involved with. At Washington, he got Chris Peterson, a guy that was at Boise State. Nobody thought that he was ever going to leave Boise State. Everybody thought he was going to stay at Boise State for the rest of his career. A lot of profile jobs had opened up and tried to pursue Chris Peterson and get him to go from Boise State to Washington, and Scott Woodward somehow, some way managed to lure Chris Peterson to Washington from Boise State. Texas A&M. Nobody says ever thought that Jimbo Fisher, who was a national championship winning coach at Florida State, was going to leave Florida State, a cushy gig that he had, for Texas A&M and the SEC, and Scott Woodward managed to lure him from Florida State to Texas A&M, and now at LSU. He has made 2 hires prior to this football coaching hire. He got Jay Johnson, who was a College World Series winning coach at Arizona. And in fact, Arizona, I believe, was in the middle of the College World Series, the Baseball World Series, when he somehow, some way lured him from Arizona to LSU. And also Kim Mulkey, the legendary future Hall of Famer, 3-time national champion women's college basketball coach. Yes, that's right, Callan. I do know my women's college basketball. But Kim Mulkey was lured from Baylor, a spot that nobody ever thought she was going to leave, for LSU. So this guy has like a track record of luring guys that you never ever thought would leave. So I kind of knew that he would get a big name. I thought it was going to be Lincoln Riley. I thought it was going to be like Dabo Sweeney or someone like that. But I know why. I get why he pivoted towards Brian Kelly, because I guess Brian Kelly was their plan B. I think Lincoln Riley was plan A, and they had a verbal agreement, and he backed out of it, and then goes to USC, and he didn't want to, look like, oh, I failed the search by hiring a guy that, is not a big-time name and a big-time coach. So that's why I guess he pivoted towards Brian Kelly. And I'm excited, I'm excited for Brian Kelly because I think he can coach the game of football. He's a really good coach. And at Notre Dame, he's got, like, restrictions recruiting-wise, like something with academics and all that stuff that I can't really I don't really know about. But I think that about Brian Kelly, I really think that he's going to be able to do a great job because now he's going to have better players. He's going to have 5-star, 4-star talent coming left and right towards LSU and coming towards his program. So I would not be shocked if LSU wins a national championship in the next 3 years.
All right. So to answer the question, what Dave Kokensparger was asking, no, it wasn't Chip Kelly. We're talking about Brian Kelly. So anyways, Big B, what was your thoughts on Lincoln Riley leaving and Brian Kelly leaving?
Well, I mean, first off, they both have winning records at the schools they just left, and I mean, not just a couple games over. I mean, they're up there. So for one, I'm shocked that both of them left. I mean, the rumor was that Brian Kelly at Notre Dame could have wrote his own check and been there as long as he wanted because he was bringing the people in. So that one I think that one shocked me the most. But with Riley, something tells me that something fishy is going on in Oklahoma because your 55-10 record. Yeah, you haven't won the national title, but you've been in bowl games the last 4 years. Been up there in the ranking. So I believe he knew something or knows something, and he kind of hightailed it out of there. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Trust me, I hope I'm wrong because these scandals I keep hearing kind of just makes me turn off college sports in general. But because once he left, then didn't the quarterback enter the transfer protocol, and then
Spencer Rattler? Yes, he did.
Yeah, and then three other upcoming incoming classmen, high recruits, I think, backed out of their agreement. So, I mean, the recruits probably backed out because of the coach, but I think the coach left. I really think something's coming up. But for both of them, I mean, I don't know why you leave a job where you're winning. I mean, unless you're bored. I saw something just a little bit ago as I was searching the records. Riley didn't like the fact that they moved out of the their conference last year
Mhm.
to the Big 12. So he didn't like that. So that could be a driving factor. But college coaches, a lot of them go for the money. I mean, go where it is. I mean, I think somebody put up there, maybe it was Justin or something, money talks, and Riley walked just like Kelly did. So, there's, I hate to say there's no loyalty, when it comes to sports and coaches, especially in the college game. I mean, granted, they only get their players there for 4 to 5 years at most. So they're always changing players. And, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, Oklahoma should still be okay. And I thought I just heard on my way home this evening that Notre Dame offered the job to one of their coordinators already to fill that spot. Maybe it was just for the bowl game, but
No, they did. They
Okay.
did.
so that
Go
Freeman,
ahead.
right? No, that so their spot's already filled, and so
They offered it to Marcus Freeman.
okay, so they possibly knew Kelly was leaving. Maybe there's some rumblings behind the scenes that at the end of the year he was leaving. I mean, so because that's kind of a quick hire to not even go out there for a search party and find somebody with Notre Dame ties that's been coaching, but maybe they like Freeman, maybe they knew something was up. So, but we'll see what Oklahoma does now.
Well, Spencer Rattler though was entering the transfer portal before Riley left, and he was going to do it anyways because he was supposed to be the starter, and he got benched, and then Williams came in and took over for him. So it's kind of one of the things to where he's like, well, if I can't start, then I don't want to be here.
No, and I get that. That's why I said, to me, I feel something's up, but again, I hope I'm wrong. I mean, 3 Gopher quarterbacks all opted out and entered the protocol too. So,
Caleb Williams, the quarterback you were talking about, Ace, there's reports he might also transfer too because he apparently wants to follow Lincoln Riley to USC. So, I mean, Oklahoma is in shambles right now,
and they don't have to sit out.
Yeah, they don't have
that year anymore. So
yeah, and so the same thing happened with Jalen Hurts, if you remember. When Jalen Hurts was in Alabama, he transferred though, and look what he did. He transferred and he actually ended up having a really good season and was like second or third in the Heisman voting. But I can't tell you that Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams is going to be the same way. I don't know, but But Spencer Rattler, I think, was going to leave regardless if Riley left or not. He wanted to be the starter somewhere.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Come on down to Hawaii. Come on down to Hawaii, big fella.
I mean, that's one thing. You promise a starting job, you get hurt, or bench. I guess he got benched. I don't know if he got hurt, but
no, he got benched. He got
benched.
Yeah.
So benched. I mean, maybe Oklahoma wasn't the fit for him that he thought it was, but.
I can tell you it wasn't a good look for him because coming out, he was supposed to be the number 1 quarterback. He was supposed to be taken number 1 overall all in the draft. And then
Heisman, I think, right?
Yeah, the Heisman Trophy, number 1 overall in the draft, the first quarterback taken. And then he comes out and he gets benched in the first 3 games. And he gets replaced by Caleb Williams. So the dude went from a number 1 overall pick in the first round of the draft back to a 5th or 6th round pick. And so I was like, it's crazy. But as much as the guy's decent, he's not great. But heck, we need a freaking quarterback in Wisconsin. We haven't had one of those in forever. So, send us a quarterback at some point. The last good quarterback we had was Russell Wilson. That was the last good quarterback we had as the Badger.
Name a quarterback.
Yeah, it was Russell Wilson.
You don't believe in Jack
I couldn't
Cohn?
tell you the last good quarterback.
What?
You don't believe in Jack Cohn? Is he your
Jack Cohn isn't there? No, Jack Cohn is playing for Notre Dame.
Oh,
Isaiah loses again.
who's your quarterback in
again.
Wisconsin?
Our quarterback is Graham Mertz, and then
That's right.
and then our backup is Chase Wolf, which isn't very good because Mertz is going to be leaving after this season. So then we're going to be stuck with Chase Wolf.
Well, that's okay. We can't get rid of The Gophers can't get rid of Morgan. He's coming back for his 6th season.
Well, there you go. She got him for a 6th season. Maybe 6 seasons of charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 times the charm, like they say.
You never know. So Tim Hendricks is saying Rattler's a prima donna. Hey, you know what? I agree with that. He kind of is. Rattler believed too much into his own hype. I think it's true too. Which
I think a lot of young athletes start.
They do
to
because
believe in
they
their own
hear
hype.
that they're supposed to be the number 1 overall pick. They believe that, they hear they're supposed to be a Heisman Trophy winner, and sometimes
They
it goes
get
to
those
their
dollar
head.
signs.
Yeah, and they look at this, they go, hey, this might turn out okay. But it's like, no, don't believe in the own hype. Go out there and do what you're supposed to be doing. And maybe he wouldn't have got replaced by Caleb Williams like he did within the 3rd game of the season.
Yeah.
But-
No, they definitely believe in their own hype and stuff like that. So
Go to Notre Dame and play for Morgan Freeman, the new head coach at Notre Dame.
There you go.
Marcus, my bad. Not Morgan, not Morgan.
I was going to say
Morgan Freeman, the actor?
That's sweet. I'm
The
going to go
actor?
play.
Right? That would be cool.
Could
Morgan
you see?
Freeman, the actor.
Could you see Morgan Freeman's prep talk? I mean, in that deep voice, he doesn't even have to be in the room, and they would like listen to him on the intercom, thinking they're speaking to God or something.
Yeah, but so the next topic we have, I wanted to throw it out there just for fun because, we were having these nice conversations, about the lockout and then college football and, Lincoln Riley leaving and then Brian Kelly leaving. So I'm like, hey, why don't we throw a little fun topic out there? And so, the fun topic that I have for you is when you think about some of the dumbest plays you've seen in sports history. Just throughout any type of sport, what really comes to mind? And so, Big B, I'll start. And I know people, one of the more common ones, I'm pretty sure that people are going to say is going to be, Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots when they're on like the 1 yard line and they don't hand it off to
that was
Marshawn
just a
Lynch and they
dumb
throw
call.
it.
I mean, that was, to me, that was just a dumb call. That wasn't a misplay. I mean, a mishap. I'm thinking, like, when you said misplays, I'm thinking, like, bloopers. I'm thinking, like, something. you
Jim
see-
Marshall from the Vikings when he
running
runs backward.
something like that. Something I see that kind of cracks me up all the time. Jose Canseco, I think he was playing for Texas in the outfield.
Oakland.
Yeah.
He was playing for Oakland at the time when the ball hit his head.
I think it was Texas.
Was it?
It
was,
I believe it was Texas. You could be right. It could have been Oakland, but I believe it was Texas where the ball went off his head for a home run. I thought that was, phenomenal. I guess. I mean, how. And then just recently, this year or last year, wasn't it a Pirates first baseman that ran back the hitter? The ground ball hit him instead of just touching the bag. He tried to take him out and. The runner just, so boneheaded plays like that are always something to see. And, I mean, it's part of the game. I mean, you got the fumble for the Jets. I mean, a free throw air ball, which is always nice to see from LeBron James. So
The flop. Yeah, it was this year, though, that the Pirates first baseman got in the rundown. And it was when he just had to go down. He just had to go back and touch first base, and he tried to throw the runner out at home. And I'm like, the inning would have been over. So it's like the only time in MLB history that you're going to hear a guy, Javi Baez, got in the rundown between home plate and first base and was safe because the first baseman
down at first. I mean, I guess another ironic play would be when Randy Johnson hit the bird.
Yeah, but that wasn't like that. That one wasn't what you'd call like a dumb play. That was just a
just a coincidence. But there's been plenty. I mean, soccer goalies go to throw the ball and it slips and it goes into their own goal. I've seen that. So what do you guys got?
Well, so I see that Justin Bossman is messaging about that fake punt that the Colts did, but I don't know if you guys have actually heard the backstory about that because Pat McAfee actually came out and told the backstory, and so the backstory on that was the ball actually wasn't supposed to be snapped. It was not supposed to be snapped. Basically, what happened was it was supposed to be the person that was supposed to be snapping the ball was the actual like holder, but he got sick. He got sick before the game happened, so he was inactive in that game. And so the coach goes, well, we're going to send out Griff Whalen. And Whalen, this was a play that Griff Whalen had never practiced. And so the coach goes, just make sure that you understand what you're supposed to do as a center. So I want you to look at what it says in the book, what you do as a center. Well, he never exactly told Griff Whalen that it was supposed to be a fake. And so Griff Whalen went in there and it said when somebody's under center and you hear, hut, 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 he's like, and you feel the hand just tap your leg, he's like, snap it. So he did that. So he snapped it. And after it happened, the coach was like, what are you doing? And then McAfee was like, yeah, that play wasn't even anywhere close to how it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a fake. The ball was never supposed to be snapped. And Griff Whalen was he was high and dry. He had no idea. He didn't know what it was supposed to be. They threw somebody out there. And my thing is, it's a dumb call because of the simple fact that if you know the guy hasn't practiced that play, why would you send him out there and be like, you're going to be our snapper on that play? It makes no sense to me whatsoever to try and send somebody out there that doesn't know the play. A few of them that you think about, Milton Bradley when he was playing with the Cubs and there was two out. Oh, no, there was one out. And I believe they were playing the Brewers and the bases were loaded and a fly ball was hit to him in right field and he catches it and he's standing there.
I thought it was three outs.
Yep. And he turns around and he throws the ball up in the stands because he thought that there was 3 outs.
Well, you see that before where a guy would come in and toss it to like the foul line. And they'll be like, no, it's only 2 outs. So he goes and tries to get the ball. Of course, now the ball's out of play. So,
Isaiah, how about you?
I mean, you work for Oakland. I mean, you got to see some boneheaded plays.
I have seen my fair share of many dumb plays there in Oakland. I mean, well, it wasn't really a dumb play. And you can't really blame him for it, but there was a foul ball, right? A foul ball that was hit in foul territory, and Matt Chapman tries to go over to the foul territory and try to catch it. He's like lining up to try to catch it, and he drops it because he lost the ball in the sun. So, I mean, you can't really blame him for it. Like, blame the sun. I mean, why do you even exist, Mr. Sun? But I mean, I don't want to bash the sun, but yeah, that's like one of the plays I have seen in Oakland, but. This is one that I saw last year, and I want to pull it up for you guys, but I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you guys see like my video right here?
Yeah, I can see a little bit.
All right.
A little bit.
It happened in the Boise State game. Boise State got the punt, and this is what happened. Come on.
Well, okay, you had it.
You got to hit it again.
Yeah, you got to hit it. I don't know if our viewers can see it there, Isaiah, but anyways,
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about when he punted it backwards?
Here we go. Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, no.
I'll play it again. I'll play it again. Hold on.
No, well, but that wasn't really a dumb play, though. That was just like rotten luck. It was just rotten luck.
He punts it off his the gunner's head, and it bounces back.
Well, yeah.
And yeah.
Does anybody remember the Ronnie Brown play? When he played for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, the Philadelphia Eagles had the ball at the 1, and they were about to score, and they were playing the Miami Dolphins, and he gets the handoff. He's at the 1, and it looked like he was going to score. Instead, he turns around, and when they went to tackle him at the 1, he takes the ball and he throws it backwards.
I don't remember that one.
And the Dolphins player comes and picks it up, and he runs it back for a touchdown. And Brown is sitting there going, "Wait, what just happened?" And they're like, "Dude, you can't throw the ball backwards." And I'm like, as an NFL player, you should know that you can't throw a ball backwards. It's gonna be.
How about it was the Saints kicking off. I think this happened in the late 90s or early 2000s. I want to say they're playing the Bills. I could be wrong on the other team, but I know the Saints were kicking off. and the ball goes in the end zone, bounces. So Saints are coming off the field, and it bounces back in the end zone at the back of the end zone back into play. And whoever the team was, the one guy grabs it and just starts taking off because everybody thought the ball was out of bounds. Play was never ruled dead and got a free touchdown on there.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
remember that. I remember that play.
Yeah. So always finish the plays, you know.
The Saints the Saints have been in a few of those though. Like the other one though, it wasn't like a dumb play, it was just rotten luck.
Oh, yeah,
and this
it's
was
luck.
no, I'm talking the one that I was talking about. It was just like one of those rotten lucks because they're playing against Jacksonville, and this was like the last game of the season. And if the Saints won, they were in the playoffs. But if they lost, then they were out. So they're losing by 6 at this point, and they go to and there was like no time left when the kickoff happened. I think there's like 5 seconds or something like that. So the ball's kicked off, and they do a series of laterals.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going all the way up the field. The Saints scored. Deuce McAllister was able to get it. He scores. So everyone was like, oh, the Saints just scored. Now, if Carney comes out and makes the extra point, the game's over, and the Saints go to the playoffs. Carney comes out and misses the extra point, and they end up losing the game. And I was like, oh. It's like, oh my God. Ooh. And keep in mind though, Isaiah, this was when the extra point wasn't moved back. This is when it was at the 2. They were kicking at the 2, and he missed that extra point when it was at the 2. And so
how do you miss an extra point from the 2? Like, how is that even possible?
Oh man, he shanked it.
Was he standing at about the 10 when he kicked it?
What?
They line up at the 2, right?
They line up at the 2. He was about at the 10, and he kicked it. And so,
how do you miss that? Even I could kick that.
Well, so let's say though. So I misspoke. They weren't down by 6. They were actually down by 7 because they were going to have to tie it. And so then they scored, and they got the 6. But then John Carney misses a freaking extra point. And so I'm like, dude, after all that work, and you go out and you shank the extra point, and you cost the Saints a playoff game. That I couldn't believe that. After all that.
Insane, man. The pressure got to him, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, but when you talk about, field goals in NFL history, I don't think none was bigger than the Anderson kick. No, well, besides the double doink, I was thinking about the Anderson kick when he missed it against the Falcons when it should have been right, because that started like the Vikings' misery with kickers.
Well, I actually got one. It happened in 2017, but nobody really makes a big deal of it because the team ended up winning the game. But this was Georgia versus Alabama, SEC championship, right?
Are you talking about the missed one when he returned it for a touchdown?
No, not that one. So this is happening in the national championship, not SEC championship. It was 2017. Alabama drives down the field to try to win the game against Georgia. This is, I believe, at like about 3 seconds left in the game. It's a 35-yard field goal to try to win the game and win the national championship against Georgia. And here I was, I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan, right? So here I was sitting there with my headphones on watching this game, and I'm like, oh, God, this guy's going to make this damn field goal, and Georgia's going to break my heart yet again for the last 20 years like they've done. And the guy kicks it, and he missed it. He misses a 35-yard field goal, and I was like, oh, my gosh, man. We just got a miracle given to us. We got a prayer given to us, and what ended up happening? Georgia on 2nd and 26. 2nd and 26 in overtime after they had just kicked the field goal. 2nd and 26, Alabama's at their own, at midfield. They allow a wide open bomb from Tua Tagovailoa to end the game. And I was like, man, if Alabama had lost that football game, I guarantee you that kicker would never be able to enter Alabama's campus ever again.
So let me hit on a few comments here. So Callan, he's talking about besides Isaiah being a bandwagoner for Georgia, he's also talking about that Sunday night game, which I do remember this. It was a Sunday night game with Arizona and Seattle when they both the kickers had a chance to win it in overtime with field goals. And when these field goals were going to be kicked, they were not long field goals. Like they were like 32-yard and 33-yard field goals. Like they were short, and they both missed them. And I was like, man, that was crazy. Those two field goals, you're like, one of them you thought was going to make it. You thought, but they like shanked them both. And Big B, I didn't mean to bring up the Anderson one. It was just a point that I was thinking. I was like, right. It was the big one in history for Minnesota because it started the jinx.
I'll never forget that field goal. That was just that whole game was coached wrong. I mean, but to have it come down to a field goal to a kicker that hasn't missed one like in a year and a half, and I was actually sitting at my uncle's house. He was doing a party, and somebody in the back is like, "Well, watch him miss it." We're like, "Shut up!"
Nice job, Jinx.
Good job.
And then what happens? He misses it.
Hunter.
He missed it. But anyways, we're at that mark now, and so Big B, I'm gonna start with you. You have that 45 seconds to a minute to go ahead and wrap up whatever it is you want to say. So go ahead.
Well, thanks for all the viewers for watching. Thanks for Chris for behind the scenes doing what he's doing. Keep checking out C2C. We got some great content coming up. And like I said in the opening, sad day for baseball right now where we ain't going to hear no talks for who knows how long. And hopefully we have a season because I know I'm a baseball fan. Ace is a baseball fan. Isaiah's a fan of something. But with that being said, just keep checking us out every week.
All right. And then, of course, Isaiah.
Phenomenal show tonight, fellas. It was so glad to all the fans, Callan. By the way, speaking of you, Callan, I just found out about 10 minutes ago, believe it or not, that Junior Seau was a Hall of Fame player. I thought he was like a journeyman and kind of like a scrub.
What?
I don't know why a lot of people talked about him. Like, I wasn't alive when he played. So all the San Diego Chargers fans, all football fans, all Junior Seau fans, please forgive me. I did not I always thought about when they were showing all those documentaries. I always thought they showed it because of his like tragic accident and tragic death. I didn't know how good of a player he really was until today. Just got a fly just stuck in my mouth. But
that fly hated you. It was a Charger fan.
But yeah, I could not. I found out today, like 10, 15 minutes ago when we were doing this show and I was searching stuff up on my phone, that Junior Seau was actually a really good player. I didn't know that until about 10 o'clock. So yeah.
Well, I think somebody needs to go ahead and brush up on their history just a little bit and the history of sports here, because my gosh, you did not know that Junior Seau was a Hall of Famer. My goodness. Well, anyways, welcome in Chardol. He's saying hi. So how's it going? So of course, thank you everybody for watching. Yes, it was a fun show. Thank you, Christy Wilson. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Dave. Thank you both, Dave. Actually, thank Callan. Thank you, Chardol. And Callan's saying as if Isaiah needs another reason to embarrass my hometown.
We don't want Callan to come on and chew my ass out.
So that's horrible, man. But anyway, so with that, so before we hop off, Isaiah, I just wanted to say Braves in 6. So anyway, everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you guys on Saturday for another episode of Sports Minute. Have a great night.